Flory Bidunga recently announced his final 4 schools in Indiana, not among those 4, which normally that would be a shock, but I think that he did Indiana and their fans a favor by doing this. And I wish more players would do it. If there's a school that you're just not going to go to, but they've recruited you hard, go ahead and cut bait. Let people know this is not going to happen. And I think that he did Indiana, their fans, a good turn by doing this, by showing that, hey, you know what? It's not going to be IU. These are the 4 that are left, which means at least 2 or 3 of those probably don't have much of a shot either, outside if their name's not Duke. But it's probably a good he did Indiana and their fans a favor, I think, by doing this.
Yeah, I mean, and to those of us who follow it and kind of, I mean, it wasn't a big surprise. And I know people are upset, like, why didn't you include Purdue in that too? And it's like, well, they really hadn't been part of it for a while. So, and he said, he did say about a month ago, I'm going to try to get to IU one more time. So, that's kind of why it was said, IU not included. But I think not a huge surprise for those who had kind of been seeing what was happening, for a while. I know Cincinnati, a long time, people thought he was going to go there. And, so for them not to be on there too, I thought was somewhat interesting. So, but the 4 schools, the only one, Michigan, I was a little bit maybe surprised by that they were on that list, but the other 3, not really. I mean, I thought, Bruce Pearl's been in there so much. Bill Self has been following him around throughout his AAU season. And obviously Duke has been a major player in this and probably changes recruitment more than anything here in the last month and a half. So, but yeah, I agree with you. If you kind of, I don't tell kids what to do, but if someone asks me, I say, cutting the list down is actually helpful. It's not a look at me type of thing. It's it almost makes your life easier because you eliminate a lot of the extra. You eliminate, the extra phone calls. You eliminate a lot of the fans who might be, they're all trying to, to like you or build up their own programs, but also kind of, you just eliminate a lot of extra noise that isn't necessary. That's saying if you know who those schools are, then yeah, go ahead and cut it down and make things a little bit easier. So he did it pretty late in the game, I would say, to cut it down. But if he does fully intend on committing before August, but at the same time, yeah, I mean, I don't think it was a huge shock to those people who'd been following it for a while. And yeah, I mean, Duke has definitely been a game changer in this situation.
Now, I will say that I am surprised that Indiana is not part of his schools that he's still considering, because it seems to offer virtually everything a player would want in the academics. The academics are obviously there, but with the way that Indiana has been trending as far as recruiting, they just got 2 guys in the NBA. So Mike Woodson's showing that, hey, I can get these guys moved along. And it doesn't have to be a 4-year guy. It could be a freshman, which he had both of those going this year. So it is a little surprising that being a homeschool that they were completely dismissed. I do have to say that.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I would have thought they'd be in the mix. It didn't seem to be going that way though, for whatever reason. I don't know the reason why necessarily, but yeah, I mean, I would have thought, looking back to the season or the end of the season, that they would be part of any finalist list. And but Flory, it is different too, because he doesn't have a connection other than just living here, for the last couple of years. He doesn't really, there's nothing, the candy stripes, why would they mean anything? Or, the IU history, why would they mean anything? But you could look at it the other side. Well, he's only lived in Indiana when he's been over here. So, so that you could look at that side of it too. But, I know Duke does resonate to him because he knows that brand from growing up. It's just so that kind of goes to show you, like, yeah, Duke carries some more weight, and that's no big shock to anybody, but yeah, so I don't know all the reasons why it kind of transpired the way it did, but I kind of go back to, he doesn't really have any real connection other than just living here the last couple of years. And really, he's living in more of a Purdue area than an IU area in Kokomo. So you could make that argument too. But yeah, I mean, I think he looks at these schools, everything with a clean slate, and he's looking at it from like, what's going to be my best situation, and and the fact that Duke obviously does carry weight with him. He said that, so that's part of a big part of this finalist list.
Yeah, as soon as he mentioned that they were in the running, that it seemed to take a change there. But that's it is what it is. Everyone has to do what's best for them. Plus, the thing is about him, I don't see him being. Is he a one and done? I mean, I know he's definitely potentially a one and done, and if he is, that even makes it doesn't really matter where you go for a single year, I would think.
I don't know if he is or not. I mean, it's hard to know. Does his all of what he does translate to a one and done type player? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. I would have to see it play out. See how he looks at whatever school he ends up going to, and also see this senior year kind of what his maturation as a player looks like. I like what I see. But I don't know. I mean, it's as we know, the NBA's changed. They don't have as many just strict rim protector type players, and there is a spot for guys. I mean, but he's only 6'9", and so there's part of that too. That kind of you don't know for sure, and you never do, but I will say there's things he has to do, I think, better to make himself that type of player. So I don't know. One and dones, that's pretty high. High standard, I would say, or high expectations. I think I could see him going to wherever and being really good, and being a type of guy who really plays himself into a good position in the future. But I think there's still things in his game where he's going to have to get better. I think, to get to that level.
Kanon Catchings, another name familiar to basketball fans across the state of Indiana, who's committed to Purdue at the moment. But yet we still keep hearing his name popping up, and now he's going to leave Brownsburg and go to Overtime Elite while still maintaining his commitment to Purdue at the moment.
Yeah, and I talked to his mom at length last whatever day that was, Thursday, I believe. And, I'd heard this was probably, there's been rumors again about him for a while, potentially going to Overtime Elite or some other prep school. And I think that, I don't know if you read the article, but she did say there's a lot of things within his background that they think maybe a change of scenery or looking at something different, and nothing. She spoke very highly of Brownsburg and his he's basically been with the same group since third grade. So it wasn't an easy decision at all. But I think part of the, there's other things other than basketball they're kind of looking at with him from a maturation standpoint that they think this could be good for him. Getting into a program too where they can sort of teach you about the business of basketball, the business of nutrition, getting things, honestly, that any school can't just can't teach you or things. And I haven't been to Overtime Elite. I don't know everything about it, but everything you hear, from her standpoint sounded pretty positive. From that standpoint, as far as, so we'll see how it plays out for him. The other part of this too is that Overtime Elite, I think when it first opened, was kind of seen as a competitor for college basketball. And now with NIL, that has sort of changed into being sort of a prep school scenario for these kids who, you can go there and sign, and I know they were saying they were signing kids for six figures and coming in, and they're basically turning into pros at that point. But there's also this option now with NIL. You can come in, basically go on scholarship, and earn NIL and also maintain your college eligibility. So there's that. It's more of a, now colleges recruit those kids at Overtime Elite instead of sort of competing with them for what would be professional prospects. Those guys going pro immediately. So, there's sort of a two it's sort of a two-part thing now at Overtime Elite, not just go be a pro right out of high school. So I think that's part of this too. And his plans as far as, last week, still go to Purdue. I know people talking about that as far as what his future may be. And I don't know, other than what you told me, what that future holds. And I will say he's a Purdue commit because he is for now. So, but anything that's not just saying for him, anybody, it's until you sign that paper, you don't know what could happen in recruiting. But yeah, so him leaving, that's a big one. I mean, he's going to be, he would have been one of those top 3 guys, I think, for Mr. Basketball for next year. And he is definitely, if he continues on his progression as a player and, continues just to mature as a person, he's an NBA guy to me. I have no question. He's such a great offensive player, man. He's just stuff that he's more advanced than I think anybody in as far as that goes, as far as offensive game goes in high school basketball. So, I hope it works out for him. I think it can. I think he's probably could benefit from going there potentially. I know Brownsburg hates to lose him. Obviously, he would have been they would have been maybe one of 2 or 3 top contenders for state championship, if not number 1. So they hate to lose him. And from a perspective of someone just following as a fan of high school basketball, I think all of us hate to see it. But again, understand it too, and understand the parents' perspective and the kids' perspective. I mean, if you got an opportunity there, you're going to listen. And his mom did say, like, we heard from all kinds of prep schools, and this was the only one he really considered leaving Brownsburg for. So, it was, so I get it. I haven't been in that situation, but I can empathize with what, the decision-making process.